Welcome to today's Connecting with Content webinar, SiriusDecisions and Skyword. I'm your host, Ray Gilmartin. Thanks for joining us. First, just a couple quick housekeeping notes. Listeners can follow along with us on Twitter, and you can ask questions using hashtag #BuildYourBrand. You can also ask us questions here in ReadyTalk by typing in the Q&A box in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. We'll do our best to address as many questions as we can at the end of the webinar. I'm honored to introduce Christine Polewarczyk from SiriusDecisions. Some of you who joined us for Skyword's Forward 2018 customer event in June may recognize Christine. She was a key speaker at the event, and Christine received the highest number of requests from attendees to hear more from her. So we're so happy to have Christine back with us here at Skyword. Christine's an established expert in the content marketing space with over 20 years of experience in a number of capacities. In her role at SiriusDecisions as Service Director of Content Strategy and Operations, Christine helps clients turn their content engines into competitive differentiators. And again, my name is Ray Gilmartin, and I'm the Senior Director of Product Marketing at Skyword. You can read all about me here if you care to. I'm excited to have this conversation today because this topic is very personal for me. I joined Skyword after having run my own marketing consulting business for several years. When I first branched out on my own, a lot of the work I was doing was very product-heavy, standalone, tactical marketing material, like ad copy, data sheets, side-by-side feature comparisons, that sort of thing. Over time, it became apparent that my clients weren't seeing the return that they used to with this type of material. And soon the work I was being asked to do evolved into much richer content to serve as the center of highly integrated multi-channel campaigns, such as writing engaging customer profiles and shooting videos on individuals and companies that were truly impacted by the brands that I was working with. What marketers now know is that it's all about creating extraordinary customer experiences at every touch point through the entire customer lifecycle in order to connect with audiences and drive results. What I learned firsthand from my own experience is that brands are moving from a world where content marketing used to be a standalone tactic to now where content sits at the center of all marketing. But doing this effectively creates enormous complexity and a whole new set of challenges. Most companies lack the insight and the operating model to do this well, and they waste precious time and resources delivering ineffective content. At Skyword, we address these challenges by taking a unified content-centric approach to marketing, creating unique, consistent experiences that deliver customer value and drive business success. We accomplish this by offering a complete SaaS Plus-based solution that's founded on three main pillars: our global community of over 4,000 vetted storytellers, our industry-leading services, in our enterprise-class content marketing software platform. We call this platform Skyword 360. I'm really excited to talk to you in detail about how you can plan, create, and activate your content through Skyword 360. But first, let's hear from Christine about how to build both your brand and demand through content strategy. Christine?
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ray. I appreciate it. I'm so happy to be here with all of you today. I'm going to apologize in advance for my slightly weird-sounding voice. I have a bit of a cold, but bear with me. So let's jump in right away here. So we're talking about connecting with content, right? And in an audience-centric digital world that we live in today, having a strong brand that's seen as a destination that audiences want to engage with is the key to success here, right? So we see these little, warning signs on the right here: audience irrelevance, meaningless buzzwords, fake brand, inconsistent activation, being dull. These are all things we don't want to do. So what do we need to do? And that's really what I want to talk to you about today, is how content marketing can really help with all of those issues and really build your brand as a destination and an experience that audiences want to engage with. So I'm sure a lot of you already recognize that as a fact, right? Or you wouldn't be here on the Skyword webinar today. And I know that many of you and a lot of the clients that I work with every day want to build their inbound marketing engines and their overall digital marketing competencies, but they struggle with how to get there or how to improve the efforts that they've already been making in terms of seeing success with content marketing. So another thing that I want to talk about today and that I'm going to weave throughout is the need to think about the multilingual and the multicultural component to this, because I know that a lot of you, not all, have multiple languages or geos that you have to address as well in terms of building brand and demand in those different local markets. So we'll talk about how we need to think about those things in relation to content marketing. And if it doesn't apply to you, there's still a lot of other great information here. You can just sort of set aside the multilingual commentary. So let's get started. I'm going to walk you through today a process framework on how to actually step-by-step go through the process of building a content marketing strategy. So before we jump in and do that, though, I think it's probably a good idea for me to just level set on how we define content marketing at SiriusDecisions, because one of the things I've also observed is that there's still some confusion in the market about what content marketing is. Content marketing doesn't mean I create a lot more content than I used to, therefore I am doing content marketing. And it's not a replacement for a lot of the outbound campaigns, programs, and tactics that we do and have traditionally done as marketers. Those things don't go away. But we need to balance that out with content marketing and really have a stronger inbound engine in a lot of cases across B2B marketing organizations. So core principles here, there are 6 that serve as the foundation for content marketing, which we define as a subset of inbound marketing that is done with the intention of driving topical authority engagement with your audiences and also supporting the building of a stronger digital footprint. And so the core principles are being audience-centric or audience-first. We should be that way across our entire go-to-market strategy, but it's especially important from a content marketing perspective. Themes and topics are driven by audience needs and interests and insights about those. Differentiated content that has a thought leadership point of view that's helpful, relevant, valuable in terms of your content offerings is key. So you stand out in the cacophony of content that's out there today. And it needs to be frequent and perpetual. This is about ongoing content delivery in the style of an always-on brand publisher. In terms of how this fits in campaigns and programs, it really is aligned to building organic top-of-funnel awareness, traffic, and engagement. And ultimately, we want to see demand, right? However, there always are extended ways to benefit or drive additional ROI out of your content marketing efforts. So you can see here, you can bake it into lead nurturing and multi-touch email nurtures. Sales, we did a sales content study a couple of years ago on what winners are doing differently in terms of sales reps. And winning reps are more often than their runners-up using content marketing-like content to engage with buyers throughout every single buyer's journey stage to build credibility, build trust, build authority. And in terms of driving ongoing customer engagement, which improves retention, and then also leveraging employee advocacy. And if you have the ability to extend your social reach and amplify your reach through your employee advocacy programs, also improve employee satisfaction with the organization and their perception of the brand as an employee. In terms of buyer journey stages, because we're talking about top of funnel primarily focus here, again, you can use content marketing for a lot of things, but I'm trying to make this distinction between primary and opportunistic or extended. It aligns to the earlier stages, so triggering interest, supporting education stage, and seeding interest in activity with very early solution content. You don't want to get into product and promotion pitches when you're doing content marketing. Of course, extended benefits that align with a lot of things I already just said. I do just want to re-emphasize that in the most advanced state of marketing maturity, content marketing is integrated into your overall marketing strategy and includes that blend of content marketing and inbound focus with outbound campaign and tactics as well. And that's beyond the scope of the presentation today. We're not going to go into sort of the full spectrum. We're going to focus on the content marketing piece, but I just want to make that point because content marketing isn't a replacement, but it's an important aspect of an overall integrated marketing strategy. So that brings us to today's model, which is something that SiriusDecisions is well known for, right? We like to build process frameworks and methodologies that help people understand how to operationalize a strategy. So here, this is the model that we're going to walk through today. It's called the SiriusDecisions Content Marketing Strategy Turbine. It's an 8-step model, and let's just dive in, right? Okay, so first step is audience prioritization. I apologize, I'm trying to click here, and I've got flattened out build. So audience prioritization just like anything we should be doing from a go-to-market strategy perspective in marketing, we should always start with audience first. I'm not going to go through, there's a ton of content here. You guys are going to get these slides. So I'm not going to go through and explain every input, interlock, output, and all of the regional considerations that are on these sort of segue slides between each of the steps, because there's too much meat sitting underneath it to have time to do that. But just know that you have these. You can reference them again later. And if you have follow-up questions, either email them to the Skyword team or put them in the questions box now. And if we can get to them at the end of the call, we will, or we can do some follow-up, okay? But here we're talking about audience prioritization. And that's really a key prerequisite for all audience-centric content strategy, is that upstream definition of a target audience for initiative. Now, I know that probably sounds obvious, but for a lot of marketers that I still see creating content strategy, they are either doing it for too generic of an audience or too many audiences, and they don't have a really effective sense of prioritization, which damages their ability to do effective content marketing. So the key output or deliverable that you need to create in this first stage of the model is a curated or distilled audience framework that's specifically prioritized for content marketing efforts. It's not your entire audience framework. You may not want to use content marketing for all of the personas across all of the offerings across your enterprise, right? So what is the focus from a content marketing perspective? And keep in mind that personas may be different, or prioritization of those personas may vary from geo to geo if you're thinking about this from a global perspective, okay? So this is just a generic view of what some of the audiences might be, and to put a finer point on the comment I was just making, you see the stat here, only 41% of B2B marketing organizations today, according to our State of B2B Content study from this past year, are always or often using audience definition and prioritization to inform their content strategy plans. And the fact is that while a lot of marketers say they want to be more audience-centric, they're struggling to make that paradigm shift. And content marketing in particular has to start with that audience centricity component. I do want to make the point that because it is top of funnel focused, you do tend to be more focused on a horizontal or a vertical or a cohort than other types of marketing like ABM, for example. So as you get signals through the content marketing engagement that you're driving, those signals will then drive whatever additional demand tactics that you're going to want to use further down the funnel. All right, so once you have your audiences defined, you're going to want to go into theme and topic rationalization. And this is going to serve as the foundation for your keyword strategy research and development efforts in the next stage of this model, okay? So here, the key deliverable is really just that list of themes and topics. Those should be aligned to audience-centric themes that you hopefully already have documented in your corporate message map or messaging framework, as well as insights that you have within your persona profiles. Excuse me. Again, for regional marketers, there may be variations in terms of the interest or the maturity of themes and topics across geos, just like we said in Blade 1 in terms of prioritization of personas. So just keep that in mind. So what you're looking at here is just sort of like a waterfall in terms of understanding theme topic rationalization, and a lot of organizations are doing this well today. They understand their need-based themes, and they've got the topics. What I really see as a common mistake is those bottom two boxes where they're thinking they go from theme to topic to creating content, and then they opportunistically optimize that content for certain keywords based on whatever the content is about. When you're talking about doing content marketing strategy really well, all of those sort of SEO maintenance or optimization types of things that should happen at the final tail end of creating and packaging your content, those things, of course, still need to happen. You need to, put your alt image tags and your related content links, and all those things still need to happen, clean metadata. But in terms of order of operations, it's really important to have a keyword universe that's actually informing content ideation. So that keyword universe is integral to content strategy, to your content marketing strategy, not something that you tag on as sort of a tail end sort of afterthought. If you do it that way, you will get some minimal benefit, but it won't nearly be as effective as going through this sort of waterfall process. This is just a simple example of some theme topic rationalization for an IT decision maker audience. So you see IT innovation, business transformation, and data center. For each of these, you see a list of topics that are aligned to those themes underneath. And then just want to make the point that some of this was already predefined through audience insights that were gained through the persona research and development exercise. Some of this will come out of initial research in keyword research tools and social monitoring or social listening analytics tools, as well as a lot of times your messaging framework is also defined by customer interviews and sales feedback and other types of sources that you would use in your audience research process. So I just want to sort of clarify because I'm sort of imagining the question out there is like, well, how do I get to this point in the first place, right? But once you do have that list of themes and topics, sort of like the example I just showed you, that's when you go into keyword strategy development. And this is really key here. And the output that you need to come out of this stage is that documented keyword universe. And again, from a regional perspective, there will be variations in keyword behaviors and search query volumes on different types of terms given based on a given local market. So if you're new to SEO, you're likely going to want to get the support of a search agency or a content marketing vendor of some sort to help you with your keyword universe development because it's really at the crux of everything you do. I don't really, see how you can even decouple content marketing from search marketing, as well as social for that matter, and we'll talk about that a little bit more on this slide. So let's start with this as a visual as an aid for understanding really what I consider to be the absolutely critical nature and synergistic relationship between search marketing, content marketing, and social media marketing when you align them around an audience-centric keyword universe, and then you create that frequent perpetual content using this formula. That's really where the magic happens. That's why I call this sort of the inbound secret sauce of building organic inbound traffic. And the reality is this formula also works, I'm saying organic, but this formula actually works equally when you think about paid activation. So if you have an audience-centric keyword universe and you're talking about paid search, content marketing, and paid social, this formula still works. And if you blend or rationalize and synthesize your organic and paid search and social, then you're getting pretty sophisticated. But really this is just about making sure that everything that you're creating is aligned around the way that your audience is demonstrating digital behaviors and topical interests through how they're searching for or engaging with content online today. All right, so let's talk a little bit more about what needs to be in that keyword universe. So I'm going to build this out piece by piece here so I don't just overwhelm you with so much stuff on the slide. But there are key factors that you'll need to consider as you build your own content marketing keyword universe. And I do want to clarify that this is not the same as a keyword universe for your entire website or your entire go-to-market. This is related to the audiences and the themes and the topics that you want to focus on from a content marketing, destination hub type of perspective. So let's look at the green boxes first. So when you're doing your keyword research, these basically represent the key fields or attributes that need to be represented in your keyword universe, whether that's in your content marketing platform, if it has SEO capabilities, or a keyword research tool, or for a lot of people, things start out in those tools and end up in spreadsheets, so you can manipulate them a little bit better. But what's the keyword phrase? So what are those terms that they're searching for that you want to rank for? Search query volume. How often are people searching for that term? Is it 500 times a month, 5,000, 500,000 times? How popular and competitive is that term? And then based on your theme and topic list, how do those tie back to those keyword phrases? Because you want to understand how you're creating diversity or weighting your focus on keyword phrases in alignment to those themes and topics. Are you heavily focused on one topical area more than another or one theme more than another? And does that correlate back to the results you're seeing in terms of your search engine rankings? Now let's add these extra fields. So keeping in mind here, I'm sort of giving you like the drive-by whirlwind version of SEO 101 here. Obviously there are other factors and we just don't have time to go into all of that. But current search engine results page ranking, so SERP is search engine results page for those who may not know. How do you currently rank for those keyword phrases that you're going after? And then how do your competitors also rank? And how is that moving up and down over time as you track this through your metrics, which we'll get to at the end. I did want to add just a few sort of tricks of the trade here for those of you who may be interested. So after you build your keyword universe, or as you're building it, some of the things I'd encourage you to think about are, for organic search, the focus, especially from a content marketing perspective, is on non-branded terms. That means generic industry related terms that relate back to you as a business and what you offer and what you talk about and what you cover, but don't specifically, it's not your product names, it's not your brand name, it's none of those things. People who are searching for what you do but aren't searching for you. For paid search, it's a great idea if you have some discretionary spend to look at where you're weak from non-branded term rankings. There are keyword phrases that are non-branded terms that you know you should be ranking high for. You don't today. You can supplement that with paid. And then also you may want to look at competitors' branded terms and go after them a little bit with your paid search purchases and really try to convert some of that traffic for people looking for your competitors' offerings. Audience keyword behaviors, just keeping in mind again, I already said it, but those will vary by country and language and the maturity of a given market. So you may be trending really hot in one geo around IT networking, for example, but very poorly in another. So those kinds of things have to be rationalized. And remember, Google isn't everywhere and everything. I mean, yes, they have, geo-specific instances of Google, but you also want to be looking at Bing and Yandex in Russia and Naver in Korea and Baidu in China. And I don't have it on the slide, but this goes for social channels as well, of course, as we're thinking about activation. And then from a content marketing perspective, again, the tighter the audience and the more specific your topical focus, the better the results are that you're going to see. Because if you have, 200 to 500 terms that you're going after and you have a contained universe that a lot of the content marketing teams I talk to, they're not huge teams. So everyone feels lean and you need to stay focused or you won't be able to create enough content to cover all of those terms in a meaningful enough way to build momentum, build rank, right? So again, it's not your entire website. It's not tens of thousands of terms that you've opportunistically optimized for in your metadata and on your site because that's what that About Us page or corporate event page is about. It's a much more strategic focus on building yourself up as an authority on a given set of topics. Okay, so I will stop going off on my soapbox on that. All right, so let's move into 4, which is content planning. So once your keyword universe is built, it's time to move into content ideation and planning mode. And the audience insights, the themes and topics, the keywords that you've now previously defined should be actively informing the development of an editorial calendar, which is the key deliverable in this stage of the process model, okay? This is just an example of, let me back up. At this point, you can use your keyword universe that you've identified. That's going to help you brainstorm asset ideas that you can populate into your editorial calendar. So frequent, dedicated focus on publishing content that relates to a family of topics and the related keywords. That's a forcing mechanism for staying subject-focused enough to build that topical authority with those search engines and audiences. And what you see here is just a uber simplified example of some of the many keyword phrases associated with the topic of content management. And I'm sure there are others, and I didn't go back and re-look at this and say, oh, are these the leading ones and search volume and all that. The main takeaway here is for any topic that you cover, there are a variety of head terms and long tail terms that people use to search for that, and they're not always the same. There's just this, sort of this family of topics and sisters and cousins that are involved. You want to understand that mix and use that to inform your ideation process. It can really help you drive a lot of your content creation ideas. Now, I said a few minutes ago that the key output for this stage is a documented editorial calendar. So ideally, you would be managing this within a content marketing platform so that you have the ability to filter by different fields or attributes or create custom views and all of that sort of thing. I know a lot of people are still in spreadsheets, unfortunately, but What you see here is just a hyper-simplified view of an editorial calendar, really just because of the constraints of fitting it on a slide. But there would be multiple other attributes that I would want you to track in an editorial calendar, like vertical and buyer's journey stage and language and so on. Well, we've got language here, but you get the general idea. I want to show you our content blueprint, which has a variety of tags you should be tracking and using in your editorial process. But for now, though, just want you to take note of the fact that if you'll want to plan publishing at least 3 months out if possible. Not only is this important for instilling some best practices around strategic planning and thinking more like a publisher, but it's also important if you're in a multilingual, multi-market situation and you need to accommodate the natural delays that happen from translation and localization requirements. Also remember that content marketing isn't just blogs. So you want to balance out the blend of primary and derivative formats that you create. For any downloadable assets that you build for content marketing, please just remember that you should be top of funnel and education focused and maybe some very early solution, but again, not overly promotional or product centric in terms of best practice. Quick note here on differentiating, because remember when I said one of the core principles of content marketing is to be differentiated. Well, in order to be differentiated, you should have some sort of process in place. And this is just one example, but do you have any decision gates or anything baked into your content ideation process that challenges you to validate that the content ideas that you're coming up with are truly differentiated, are going to create a great brand experience, aren't sort of the victim of shiny object syndrome, that they're grounded in something, and that you're really thinking about quality and value. So again, just think about the idea of stress testing your content ideation, okay? All right, so once you've built your keyword universe and you created your editorial calendar, it's time to move into actually creating the content, right? So here, I mean, the actual deliverable is just the content assets themselves that you are going to create and package up for activation. Now, what I really wanted to highlight here is that it's critical to ensure that you have the right skills as well as clear processes and interlock around anyone who's touching content creation. So from a skills perspective, some of the issues we see are marketers that are struggling with writing audience-centric versus product-centric content, or gaps in the ability to create high-quality content equally in terms of short form versus long form. Sometimes there's a comfort or a bigger strength with long form or short form or vice versa. SEO, we've talked about it, is a common skill gap that I see across B2B marketing organizations right now overall. I know content marketing teams tend to be a little bit more savvy in this area, but I still think there's a lot of work to be done here. And then just from a skills perspective, project management is a different animal when you're trying to do content marketing because it's more of a publisher or managing editor style model. Other common challenges are including that balancing of what do we do in-house versus what do we do outsourced. Do we have the right budget and resources? Factoring in timing for translation and localization, as well as I still continue to see gaps around having the right agency support, whether that's content marketing agencies or managed services type of model, or even just the right technology to support the complexity of workflow and measurement. So at the bottom of the slide here, you just see an interesting stat, another one from our State of B2B Content Study. I'll just call out the one on the far right, that 38%, only 38% of organizations currently today are including keyword types of information in their persona profiles and insights. So there's tons of opportunity to do better here, and you can see 10% of organizations don't even have a keyword universe, which makes me sad. All right, so that's the next segue into this next stage where we're talking about the process guidelines you need to have in place to optimize your content during the production process to maximize the efficiency, the quality, and the performance of that content. So again, here the goal is really to just come out of the final packaging and processing of your content with these types of guidelines applied. So you've got your brand and style guidelines, where you're protecting brand identity and integrity and ensuring the credibility and the quality of your assets. Localization guidelines, defining those do's and don'ts for geo and language combinations, ensuring cultural considerations and terminology conventions and any voice and tone that needs to be tailored has been done before it goes into local market. Those SEO guidelines, remember earlier I was saying, hey, keyword universe and strategy comes first, but that doesn't mean you still don't apply some of those more tactical SEO practices, best practices at the tail end of packaging up your content. So here you want to make sure you have the right keyword density, you're using a good representation of keywords and alternate keyword phrases in a natural way, of course, that you've cross-linked and cross-promoted other related content, and that you've tagged everything appropriately to ensure that crawlability and indexability of the content by your audiences and by your search engines. We could go on about that even further. And then finally, calls to action. Ultimately, the goal is to see demand here and demonstrate that content marketing is driving leads. So it's critical to ensure you have those strong calls to action in every asset. And it doesn't mean it's a clear conversion-related call to action. It could be subscribe to our blog and drive in that opt-in database growth. It could be cross-promotion of more content effectively. But ultimately, it is about driving those conversions. So don't forget that the goal is to get them to click, engage, and eventually convert. And I have to say, there are still a lot of organizations that struggle with those calls to action, making them really work for them and deliver on that promise. So 2 blades left. Let's move on to our 7th step. So this is about building, getting the content out there. Now that we've created the content, we need to activate it. That's what we say at Sirius. We activate the content. So it's time to deploy. And so what does that mean? So we have, based on the definition of what content marketing is, it should be centered around that idea of destination publication. So this is our centralized hub where we publish all our content marketing assets. For many of you, that's a blog. For some, that's also a separate domain thought leadership site like adobecmo.com, for example. SEO and organic social promotion are a given, of course. Your CTA strategy should include efforts to drive subscription to a newsletter or newsletters based on audience preferences around the content they want to receive, the topics they're interested in, the delivery mechanisms they prefer. This is also really important for any of you who have global audiences and are dealing particularly with GDPR compliance, because you really have to start getting that permission to communicate and understanding what the preferences are and thinking about preference management like a publisher does for your content. There are always opportunistic activation paths available to extend the value of your content marketing assets as well. Like I said earlier in the presentation, the most advanced state of maturity would to have content marketing strategy and campaign strategy be one integrated view and one strategy. Paid search and social should and can be done if budget's available. Promotion on homepage and other parts of your website obviously makes a lot of sense as well. You can drive a lot of that if you have a good web content management system and you manage your metadata well. You can do a lot of that cross-promotion on your own website via automation. If you use employee advocacy tools, you can also extend and really amplify your organic social reach through your employee base. And then finally, if you have a sales asset management system or whatever means you use to communicate with sales, make sure they know this content is available for them to use in order to support their buyer and customer interactions. Like I said, our sales content study shows that winning sales reps are activating a lot of content, 18 to 21 assets across all 3 buyer's journey stages with those buyers to drive the closing of deals. And a lot of that content that they were using was content marketing types of assets. All right, so let's finalize this whole wheel. I know I've been moving fast. I hope you guys are getting value out of this. I want to make sure I stay on time, so I know I'm a fast talker, but the final process here is really just thinking about capturing metrics and insights that will help us understand how our content marketing assets are performing so we get smarter, we get better at our content marketing over time, and of course also have the ability to demonstrate the value of our content marketing efforts and investments to those that are supporting it within the organization and funding it, of course. So based on how we've defined content marketing, the core key performance indicators here that we focus on are tracking, that we're focused on tracking and understanding are related to awareness and demand primarily. So on the left here, you see some of the key awareness and engagement metrics that we'd like you to be reporting on in a standardized and consistent cadence. Page views or traffic. I always say if you're a digital marketer, you can't convert what you don't have. So traffic is the primary metric of a digital marketer, in my opinion. Search rankings, are we going up? Are we going down on the keywords we're focused on? Social traffic and engagement, newsletter subscription growth, unique visitors, are we attracting new audiences? Repeat visits, are we attracting the right or relevant audiences and keeping them coming back? Bounce rates, are we attracting the right kind of traffic? And then average session duration, pages per session, navigation paths. Those are all great ways to understand if they're staying longer, are they consuming more content, are they going deeper into the site, where are they going, where do they naturally tend to navigate through the site from your most popular pieces of content. And then from a demand metrics perspective, because we're talking top of funnel primarily, we want to look at form conversion rates as well as overall downloads. AQLs, a lot of people are driving those AQLs and those MQLs from their blogs, so we want to look at that. But we also want to look at things like sales utilization of content, if that's available to us as another supplementary metric that we can use to demonstrate the value of the content marketing work that we're doing. And then, of course, the ultimate goal, if you have the ability to do this type of attribution based on the way that you have your marketing automation platform and your Salesforce automation and your web content management, all those systems set up, can you go back and demonstrate content marketing sourced or influenced leads, pipeline, or closed business? Of course, like I said, this requires for you to have a lot of the right processes and technology in place to do this. And then another interesting stat to sort of wrap it up is to say, hey, did you know only 32%, just under a third of B2B marketing organizations today are always or often using metrics to inform their content strategy plans. So that is an opportunity, and that's a problem and an opportunity, right? And so a lot of folks that I talk to will say we do, but they do it very inconsistently, or the metrics that they have today aren't all of the ones they need to understand what's working and not what's not working from a content perspective in terms of focus. So that's a place where, content marketing platforms, BI tools, those sort of things are really going to come into play to help you understand what's going on. This is just, a very simplified dashboard just to share some, final thoughts that as you're collecting and tracking those KPIs, make sure you're looking at history and you're looking for seasonality, for patterns, anomalies in your traffic that should require further analysis. And make sure you're focused on looking at longer-term trends. It doesn't mean you're still not capturing those metrics every month and every quarter and that sort of thing, but looking month over month or what just happened in one quarter isn't going to give you a real sense of what's happening from building your inbound engine. You want to see overall trend lines and just add to that right side of those trend lines month over month, year over year, and really understand what's going on. Also make sure you're digging into your data through the lens of the different attributes that you have that you tag your content against so that you can understand what is or isn't performing based on key factors. So for example, maybe you're using a lot of paid authors. Which ones are driving the most traffic and engagement? Are you making, are some of these authors just not resonating with your audience? Find out what's really working and then put more effort into those areas, and that'll really help you accelerate your results. There's often that rule, for websites in general where we'll say, 20% of the content generates 80% of the traffic, right? You want to understand what that 20% is from a content marketing perspective and double down on that and really make sure that you are juicing that, so to speak, for all it's worth. So that's the model. I hope you found that to be helpful and educational and a good use of your time. I'd like to leave you with just a few final calls to action here around building your own content marketing plans or optimizing the ones that you already have. And that's really, again, to just think about, do we have, as an overall marketing organization, what is the balance between inbound and outbound for us? And is that serving us in terms of building that brand awareness, increasing engagement, and seeding demand the way that we need to? I find a lot of marketers, as much as they say that they are doing content marketing, they're still heavily reliant on outbound tactics to generate leads. This will require executive championship and education of the team overall. Again, one of the reasons I was so excited to do this presentation is that I do find that content marketing teams usually get it. The rest of the marketing organization and the executive team, sometimes there's some education that needs to be done there so that you have the right level of support and championship to be successful at your objectives. And if you don't have some of the key skills you need that have been outlined throughout this presentation, key competencies, key technology capabilities, key service providers, whatever it may be, make sure you just reach out to some external resources as you're building your internal competencies over time. Content marketing isn't for the faint of heart. I don't recommend you go in trying to do something like keyword research, for example, if it's not an area where you are highly skilled, because it is so important to the success of what you do in content marketing. So with that, Ray, I'll turn it back to you. Thank you, everybody, so much for that, and look forward to your questions in a few minutes.
That was great, Christine. Thank you. That was really helpful. Just as a reminder to our listeners, you can follow along with us on Twitter, and you can ask questions using hashtag #BuildYourBrand. You can also enter your questions right here in ReadyTalk. Now, with everything that Christine just discussed about putting content at the center of your marketing strategy to build both your brand and demand, how do you actually do it? Well, here's how we do it. As I mentioned, Skyword 360 is the SaaS part of Skyward's unique SaaS Plus approach to content marketing, in which we offer a global community of storytellers, industry-leading services, and enterprise-class technology. This technology enables you to plan, create, and activate content so that you can create the kind of extraordinary customer experiences that differentiate your brand. Taking a deeper dive into Skyword 360, as marketing professionals, how do you make sure people understand your strategy across your entire organization? How do you make sure that they build a plan that delivers on that strategy, especially with teams distributed across divisions and in some cases across the globe? How do you make sure you're telling good stories and creating compelling content when you have some storytellers in-house, some with us, and maybe some scattered around various agencies? And when processes such as creation and amplification and measurement are all siloed across different teams, how do you make sure that it all happens how and when you want it in the quality that you want it to? Skyward 360 is designed to help you do all of this. Skyward 360 helps you share your strategy across your entire organization, develop a plan against that strategy, create and collect assets effectively so you get more cost effective as you scale, activate your content across every channel, every division, and every region, personalize customer experiences, and measure and optimize so you can continually improve your processes. Let's give you a quick look at what this means. Let's begin with strategize, since that's where content operations start. How often do you build a strategy for your team for the year in PowerPoint, email it around to them, and then hope and pray that someone actually implements it? With Skyward 360, you can document your strategy, define your personas, and detail who the people are behind those personas, what they care about, what channels they spend their time on, and what content they like to consume. You can map out the stages through which you typically connect with buyers throughout their journeys. In the way that you define those stages. And you can tag content with personas and stages, providing much needed context and tracking throughout the creation process. Now with your strategy in place, you can now operationalize it, ensuring that the plan you put in the market reflects your original strategy. With Skyward 360's Enterprise Planner, you can drill into what's being created for a specific persona at a specific stage. You can see any individual asset that you're creating, where it sits in the process, and who it's being designed for. You can document your entire content strategy across channels, or across regions, and across divisions of your company. You can view content by campaign, or by format and status, or customize views for whatever your team's needs happen to be. Now from planning, we move on to creation, and creating extraordinary content is what Skyward is best known for. Our tools within the Create section of Skyward 360 enable the seamless production of content. But first, you must select the storytellers who will be creating your content. Our global community of over 4,000 vetted contributors is easily searchable and managed directly within Skyward 360. With payments issued directly within the platform for contributors around the globe in 46 countries and in 22 currencies. The actual content creation process all starts with ideation. The ideation section of Skyward 360 allows your entire team to document their ideas, creating a backlog library of ideas for future use. Those ideas are then made into assignments, targeting specific personas at specific stages, with their status tracked throughout the creative process. Now with the new assignment underway, the content review section of Skyword 360 streamlines the review and approval process for all content types. And as we see marketing budgets increasingly shift to rich media creation, namely video, Skyword 360's ability to easily give feedback on video content in the form of time-stamped comments greatly streamlines what can otherwise be a complicated review and approval process. And to help you collect, remix, and reuse all this great content that you're creating, Skyword 360 includes an integrated DAM. Our DAM serves as an asset library, allowing you to store, manage, and search for assets across your entire enterprise. You can easily upload assets into the Skyword DAM, categorize them, and ensure that they're immediately available to whichever team that needs them. And once your content has been created and collected, it's now time to be activated. You can do so through CMS plugins, marketing automation plugins, or through social media with Skyward's social media publishing. This newest addition to the Skyward 360 platform allows you to easily preview and schedule social posts to the most popular social destinations, including Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn, with Instagram coming soon. And once you've created these extraordinary customer experiences and you're connecting with your customers across various channels, you've now got to personalize the experiences. Skyward Personalized Recommendations, or SPUR, ensures that the right content is getting to the right people, driving even more specialized brand experiences and customer engagement. Using powerful AI, you can select an experience for a person based on their recent and past interests. As an example of the effectiveness of this technology, we're seeing a 60% lift comment on email open rates and click-through rates, simply by better targeting the right people with the right content. Finally, we realize that as the capabilities of Skyward 360 continue to expand, there will be more and more people on the platform with different roles and different needs. The ability to optimize Skyward 360 experience for everyone's particular needs is critical. If you're in a production team, you need to see the content that has to be reviewed, what assignments have fallen behind, and so on. Whereas if you're in the analytics team, you need to see how content is performing and where you should be investing more money or less money. These are all views you can customize using our enterprise dashboard. And you can always take deeper dives into channel analytics to fully understand how you're executing against your goals. The flexibility of Skyward 360 enables us to continually increase the value that we bring to you. As we continue to add greater insight and functionality to the platform, we're excited to bring these innovations to you. Well, that's my overview of Skyward 360. Let's open it up for Q&A. So we have a bunch of questions here, and remember, if there's anything that you still want to ask, listeners can ask questions on Twitter using hashtag #BuildYourBrand, or right here on ReadyTalk by typing in the Q&A box at the bottom left-hand corner.
Okay,
Christine,
great.
looks like there's a few questions for you here. Maybe we can start with those.
Do you want me to just read them? Because I can see them in here.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, I see, where can I get the slides? That's already been answered. The one on how can orgs do personalized marketing and messaging at scale. I mean, that is like a whole separate webinar in itself, but just to try to give you a short answer on if you're doing content marketing or any type of marketing, really, how can you personalize it better? I mean, some of the things that I like to tell people is, first, it's going to start with that audience framework and making sure you even understand who you're trying to personalize for. And then, you know, obviously your marketing automation platform and your web content management system, those types of tools should have some level of personalization that they can offer as well. Any personalization tools that you use, though, are going to be very dependent on, one, the hygiene and the health of your contact database, and also your metadata. So one of the problems that I've seen people running into the most, and this is really becoming a severe pain point for a lot of organizations that I've been talking to lately, is, and that's why they care about content strategy and ops, is because they're realizing, oh my gosh, I've built a data lake and I want to understand how my content is performing across all these different platforms and channels and systems that we have. We don't have a universal taxonomy or any common way that we tag our data, so we can't analyze the aboutness of that data for true insight and intelligence. So I think one of the things that you can the two most important things I think there are to focus on are data hygiene and metadata hygiene. So that'll be the answer I can give you today, but maybe we can talk about that a little bit more. Did you have anything you wanted to add there, Ray? Or?
No, I think, but the questions are coming in hot and heavy now. So I have another one here for you.
Okay.
Who should own the keyword universe development? Is it the content marketing team, digital marketing, or web team? We have different opinions in our org.
I'm not surprised you have different opinions. So it really depends on your org. This is one of those it depends situations. But let's just talk about, just re-emphasize the distinction between I have a keyword universe for my entire website domain or multiple website domains that we manage as under our corporate brand and under our corporate umbrella versus I have a content marketing specific keyword universe. The website domain or domains in play, that keyword universe and technical SEO and optimization work is typically done by a web or a technical SEO team. Whereas the keyword universe development specifically for content marketing, in my opinion, should be owned by the content marketing team or with the support of maybe a content marketing agency or a search agency that they leverage to support that effort. And then if you are multi-language, multi-market, international SEO is a whole different animal. And I would recommend getting external support for that, at least initially, if it's not something that you think that you do well today. So I hope that answers the question. It's always hard when you can't, see the person and see their get follow-up commentary, but hopefully that helps answer that question. It could be a digital marketing team as a final comment, and that's okay too, if that's where the skills lie. I just want to reemphasize, though, that you want a curated keyword universe. It's not, 5,000 terms that you're going after because it's just too hard to create enough content to support ranking for that many terms. So
I think we might as well stick for one more with the keyword theme. We have another one. What do we do if we compete for keywords across multiple business units? How do we manage our keyword strategy when we compete against other parts of the business?
Well, that is a huge interlock issue, right, for a lot of companies that have multiple offerings or they've grown through acquisition and they have competing products or that sort of thing. Part of that is going to be a process-related thing where ideally someone like a content strategy and ops team or a digital marketing team, some sort of SEO team, can work with those various constituents or stakeholders and figure out where the lines will be drawn and rationalize that. That's an exercise that you absolutely should go through. So especially like if you're doing like paid search spend and things like that, you're not actually like cannibalizing each other. Instead of going after the competitors, you're competing with yourselves. So that, from a process or strategy perspective, absolutely should be happening. If it's not, I can't say there's one easy solution, but you need someone to drive that effort. There are some tools out there in the market that also let you put governors on that, where like content governance tools, where you can load your keyword universe by BU, for example, into the tool, and then as content authors are using certain keywords, it will know who they are, what BU they're in, whatever, and it'll say, hey, looks like so-and-so owns that keyword. How about this alternate keyword phrase instead? So there are some tools on the market that can help automate some of that.
Great. Well, let me take one. We have a few more minutes here. One came in for us. While persona and stages are important information to share with creators for audience-centric content marketing, how do you coach your content creators on how to talk to personas? How do you capture and coach them on what tone of voice to use? So, we actually encourage you to establish brand guidelines for your team. And in Skyword 360, we actually require that every content creator read the brand guidelines of the channel that they're addressing before they can create content for it. And those guidelines then become referenceable within the platform as well as directly within every content template. So good question there. Another one for you, Christine, and then I think we probably have to wrap it up. We're just starting to invest in content marketing seriously at our org. What are some of the common mistakes that you see companies make when they're just getting started like us? What should we know most going into this?
Oh gosh, well, that could be a long conversation. Well, there's, poor audience prioritization is key. You're trying to be too many things to too many different people on the same destination site or through the same brand experience, which just dilutes your efforts in general. Like, I'm going for an IT and a marketing audience on the same blog or something like that. No unifying keyword strategy, huge. If you are global, no international SEO process. The not publishing often enough is huge. People who are if you're just posting on your blog once or twice a week or something like that, to me it's almost like, why are you even doing it at all? You're not like fully committed to this, because that's not frequent and perpetual per the core principles that we outlined around content marketing. Also, just content quality issues, that differentiated piece. Don't publish often if it means you're sacrificing quality for that, because more is not better if it's poorer quality content. I also just see lack of budget or resources being dedicated to it, so it's some fledgling bootstrap effort. Again, executive teams don't understand what it takes to do content marketing well, so they're either underfunding or under-resourcing it, or they're not giving it enough time to get off the ground. Lack of proper technology and tools, so that's like, a little seed there towards the Skyword 360 platform, because I see a lot of people are just doing things in a very inefficient or manual way. They need workflow automation. They need content calendaring. They need asset management. They need analytics. They need all of these things so that they can execute well, but also so they can demonstrate the value of the work that they're doing and have transparency and accountability. And then I'll just end with saying lack of long-term commitment, which I already mentioned around the executive support thing. And then there are still a lot of people who are too promotional. There's that Zig Ziglar quote, "Stop selling, start helping." That is, to me, like the epitome of content marketing. So, don't product pitch people. Really demonstrate your thought leadership and your value, and make sure that's what that keyword universe research is all about. What are the needs and interests of my target audience, and focus on that. So that's probably a good place to wrap it up.
I think that's a great place to wrap it up. So really appreciate, Christine, you knocked out of the park once again for us. And I only said it 10 times, so I'm going to say it 11 times. But please follow us on social. We're at Skyword on all your favorite social outlets. And really appreciate everyone's time, and have a great day. And thank you very much for joining us.